Hello and welcome back to Midwest Snow Globe Repair and Enchantment. So I have a customer snow globe that we're going to turn around here. So it's a little hard to see, but the water is getting to be a little brown. And let's see what else is going on. I know that this guy's neck is going to need a little bit of glue and maybe a little bit of paint, but we'll see as we get closer to there. I think it has a couple areas that need a little bit of touch-up paint, but overall it's pretty good. I did put batteries in, and it looks like it's going to need a new impeller, so I got a couple of those ordered in. I got a new motor just in case we need that also. So I'll bet what's going on with the water is the impeller eventually started to rot out. So let's get this opened up and change it out. Alright, so first things first, it looks like I need to touch up some of the tree up here, but that should be pretty simple. Let's flip this guy upside down. I gotta be careful though, just because of this guy making this a little bit more awkward to stand upside down. So I need to get the bottom cover off. Let's see if that'll just easily come off. It might. This is definitely a interesting shaped cover. Usually they're always just round, simple. Just gonna trim around this. There we go. Okay, yep, that's what I thought, that there is a impeller inside there. And Disney did us a favor and gave us a connector here, so this, you just pinch and it comes right off. So that'll make our life much easier. Okay, so I'm gonna twist and unhook this motor, because that'll make it a bit easier to get the stopper out of there. I just need to place this somewhere though. There we go, that'll help. I'll just put it right there, that way it's out of the way. Okay, so we've got a little bit of glue to work with here. I'm going to use my hair dryer to melt it a little bit and be easier to cut through. Glue with a flathead screwdriver. You just got to be careful not put too much pressure up against the glass, because I've learned the hard way that could crack it. There we go. Okay, got that all loose. This opening is a little bit smaller, but just big enough to where my hand will fit in there to do the job. Alright, I'm going to mark the placement so I can make sure it goes back to where it was as close as possible. Okay, now we're ready to get started on bringing it out. Seems to be coming out pretty easy, so that's a plus. Just gotta watch it. Make sure you bring it out as even as possible so we don't hit the glass. There we go. Alright, out it comes. There he is. The grumpy old man. It's from the Disney movie called Up. Yep, it's got an impeller down there. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure I don't have any loose pieces of glue there that could end up falling in, because I don't want that going in there when it's all done. Got one more here. Make sure it's all out of the way. All right. So it looks like it's not too bad. I'll be able to preserve the original glitter. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a little mix. Get that glitter moving around. And then we're going to just dump it right into here. There we go. Got it. Alright, we'll put this aside and just kind of let it settle for now. Alright, so let's take a look here at this guy. So I'm gonna have to cut this open. Get my blade here that I use. This can be a little tough sometimes. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do 2 of them. Sometimes I can get away with doing just 1 of them, but this isn't gonna be a good enough opening. Didn't quite get it. There we go. Perfect. Yep, the impeller looks like it's not bad, but it was definitely getting ready to start really rusting everything out. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and get everything washed up and cleaned, and then when we come back, we will start to put it all back together. Alright, so I got everything all cleaned up. I got the figurine all washed out. It had some caked on dust. Alright, so I have a new impeller and a new motor, but before I use this motor, I'm going to see if this original motor will still work for this. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So let's test it out before we get too carried away here. Just gotta plug this back in real quick. And I need to put a couple batteries inside here. Let's do this here. Okay, and the switch is in the back. So there it is, right down here. And it is not going. Okay, I wonder why. Well, let's see if maybe we can dry some of this off. It might be a little wet still. Let's try to make sure that we're good and dried off. just once more. Otherwise, I might have to kind of play around with the wires and get it going again. Yeah, nope, we're still not going. Alright, so next step that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take this off here. Let me see. I'm gonna look and see if I can find any possible corrosion that could be causing this. Let's see, let's look. No, there is a little bit in there. It's not bad though. I wouldn't think it would be bad enough to cause this. So I'm gonna try to clean some of that off and then we'll come back on here. Alright, back to it. So it turns out I let this soak in some vinegar for maybe 10 minutes and it got all of the corrosion off. It wasn't much, but apparently it was just enough to cause this from not working. So now it's all cleaned off and I got it plugged in and it is working. You probably just can't see it on the camera, but yeah, it is working. Alright, so what I want to do first before we get all this stuff put together, I've got the impeller back inside the new one, so I want to hook this up to this and see if it will need the new motor or not. If I can find the right way to get it in there, that is. Let's see. And it looks like it really doesn't need the other motor because this is working just fine too. Okay, well, that works. Works for me. It'll be a little bit easier. Alright, now that all of that is situated, let's go ahead and get some water back into this. Okay, so I'm gonna get my dish here. Alright, so for this one, I'm not going to put any glycerin or anything inside, just because there's no point in it because of it having an impeller. Let's start with that. And I was able to get the original glitter, so I'm going to stir this up some and then we'll get that put back inside. Alright, and it looks like, at least from here, I think that's going to be enough water for now, so I'm going to go ahead and get this guy put back inside. I need to line him up with the marks that I had originally made. Because this is a little bit awkward for my hand as far as getting this pushed back in, so I just gotta be careful with that. Looks like I'm gonna be okay though this round. Okay, almost got it. Just need a little bit right there. Almost. There we go, got it. Alright, let's see here. Look. Okay, that looks pretty good. Just need to fill in that air bubble. So I've got my syringe prepared already. I'm gonna Just pull this back just enough. Get that down in there. And this isn't the most difficult snow globe I've ever worked on, but it's just among those that has such an awkward shape. It's a little hard to balance it because there's so many cool little details on it. I just want to make sure I don't break anything. Now I know I didn't get all of it because some air has got to escape from underneath the figurine. Yep, there we go. I'm going to give it a little shake here. We can get a pretty decent visual of how it's going to look. Okay, so once more. I'm going to use my screwdriver. It'll be a little easier for me to get in there. Adding some more water, trying to get that bubble completely filled in. I'm going to kind of turn it upward a little. Okay, let's see if we got it all. Perfect. Got all of it. All right. Now, I'm going to take my paper towel. I'm gonna gently dry this off a little bit because it's important to make sure all of the water is gone, just so the glue will properly seal. Okay. Okay, now I'm ready to get some glue around there. Looks like I'm running low, so I'm going to grab me another glue stick to have ready. Alright, let's start putting this on. There we go. I'm going to give that a minute to cool down. And I just realized that this snow globe does not have a music box. I'm kind of surprised. This is, let's see, yeah, just like the Monstro from Pinocchio that I just did not long ago. It didn't have one either. Add a little bit more right here. That's when you kind of start to see some of the little places you've missed. Alright, so I'm going to let that glue cool down, and I'm going to go ahead and just put the motor back in and the tray back on, or the battery compartment. And then I'll get it onto the pedestal for you guys. Totally forgot I was gonna kind of share this little part with you guys also. Just kind of touching up the leaves a little. And this green is just a shade darker, but I'm gonna go back and kind of touch it up with a little bit of a lighter. That way I can try to blend it in a little bit better. Here. Just kind of dust it. Try to, like, I know that my brush looks like it's kind of dry, but that's kind of how I want it, because the more you add on at one time, the darker it's really going to stand out. And so it's kind of like dust painting almost, for me. At least that's what I call it, you know, whatever you guys want to call it. Because I've learned, you know, as paint does dry, it tends to get a little bit darker. And I just want to try to blend this in as much as I can. But then, you know, as your paintbrush starts to dry up a little, that kind of gives you the advantage to go back in there and kind of what I call dust paint. Because as you can see now, it really, I guess I don't really need to go back in with any light paint because it seems to be blending in pretty good. I don't see anything else. Well, there's one little bit on this side right here. Go in a little bit more because it's a bit of a larger spot. And then I kind of go around a little bit too, just to kind of help blend it in. That's pretty close, I'd say. You know, you can't even hardly tell where I've been. Okay, so looks like we're good on that part now. Just take one more little look around here, make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, I did repair this guy's neck a little bit more. I mean, you can't really see it on camera so good, but I can tell, you know, you can still kind of see the lines, but I used some super glue to make sure it was good and sealed, and then I took some black paint, and I had to kind of paint the whole area that's black just to make sure that it blended in and it didn't just look like a really cheap blotchy paint job. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Alright, so I will go ahead and reposition the camera, and then that way you guys can get a way better view. And here we have it, you guys. This really turned out awesome. You know, I mean, I didn't have a whole lot of paint that I had to touch up, but, you know, what little I did definitely made a huge difference. And also, just taking the time to spray it off really good and get all that extra dust off. So, like I said, this one does not have a music box, but I do have the blower. It is good and ready to go. Just like new, and even with the original glitter that it came with. I appreciate you guys for coming back to watch my show again. Can't wait to work on the next one with you.